how many of you currently working in your sphere of influence? Right? Everybody here, awesome, awesome. Steve, you've been selling real estate forever. Barry, you have been too. I guess before we start, let's go over why. You know, the reasons why you work your sphere of influence. They say from a national level that 42% of your business can be predicted from past clients and people that you know. So it is definitely the largest percentages of how you're going to get your business and how you should build your business. There's a lot of agents out there, not in this class, obviously, a lot of agents out there that don't. And then I question whether are you really in business, or are you just kind of looking for, you know, manna from the sky. So another reason to work your sphere is the ROI. The rate of return of connecting with people that you know that love you, that see you as a high character person, is a lot higher than what you'll get on cold leads, open houses, signing calls, those things. We can all agree on that, right? And last but certainly not least, maybe even the most important, is we all want to enjoy our jobs. We all want to enjoy what we do. And when people who see you as a high value person, as a high character person, tend to respect your time and respect your expertise more than that person who you're constantly trying to prove your worth or constantly trying to build trust and accountability with. So when someone comes to me and says, hey, Matt, I've referred this person to you, they're expecting your call, there's already a sense of trust, a little bit of a wall, a little bit of a veil that's broken down because of the relationship they have with the person that gave you the referral. Would you guys agree with that? Right? You tend to enjoy your business more, Bear, when someone's referred you someone that knows you as a high character person. And I question that person, but, well, yeah. But yeah. So, yeah. Right. They connect with yeah, right. And I don't want to sit here and say you shouldn't work cold leads, and you shouldn't do open houses, and you shouldn't, you know, these are all things you need to do to have different lines of business. But by far and away, if 42% of your business can be predicted by your sphere, the next one they do is online leads, which is 18%. So there's a huge drop off of your business. So we're going to go over kind of how you maybe start with it, and maybe that's a refresher because everybody raise your hand, say you're doing something. How you might go deeper with it, and then every year try to add layers to it, okay? And then Brian will take over at hour number 2 and try to help you, show you a system that he uses to keep it all in front of you. Because that's really what I feel like sometimes. It's like a hockey goal, you know, you just try to keep the pucks from going by you. You know, you go, you know, especially when you get busy and you've been established a while. If you don't have a system in place to keep things organized, you'll lose a lot of business. Things will slip through the cracks. So he's got a system that's actually really detailed, that keeps track of all of his leads, where they're at in the process, conversations he's had with them, kids' names, wives' names, birth dates, and all those things that are relevant to keeping in front of your sphere. So first and foremost, this might be a little basics to some of you who are working your sphere, is you got to have a list of people. Everybody, they say at least knows 238 people, right? Once you get these people, you want their names, spouses' names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses to start out with. And once you have these people listed out, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or whether it's a CRM that you're using or whatever, it's important to sort and qualify these people and who they are in your lives. It's not just, in my personal opinion, you'll never be able to really cultivate a good lead source system if you're trying to touch 250 people all the same way. So what I've done is I've separated mine into like an A category, a B and C category, and then a D category. And believe it or not, the D category are maybe clients I've had that I got them through the process, things went well, but maybe our personalities didn't jive. Maybe for whatever reason, I didn't like them. You know, we all have those people, and just figuring out that these are not people that I want referrals from or don't want to work with again. So my A clients, when I first started doing this, I was 28 years old, and it really pivoted my business from being just taking things that fell from the sky and whatever I could get at open houses, those type of things, to really focusing on 20 to 25 people that I consider to be high character people that saw me as a high character person, and I really started to be focused on touching them once a month. So how I started this was getting the list together, sort and qualify them. I only had I believe it was 20 or 25 people to start on my A list. And I really started, my first letter I sent out to them was a cap letter, just said, hey, I'm starting a client appreciation program. It's a very small group of people that I would like to build top of mind awareness and work with your circle of friends and family, co-workers, whoever you call friend I would like to work with. And I started sending them items of value every month. This is not a revolutionary idea. There's plenty of programs out there like Buffini and stuff that preach this kind of thing. I've always found the Buffini system to be a little bit stale though, as far as what they send their clients. They're usually letters of, I mean, it's helpful if you're not sending anything, but changing your furnace filters and things like that. It was just more informative. It really wasn't. He calls them gifts of value. I didn't see a whole bunch of value in it. I guess anything I do, I usually go over the top with anyway. So what I started doing was tapping into people that I knew that ran businesses and see, or own their own companies, and see if I could leverage that relationship and giving my clients really cool gifts. And a lot of these were, to start out with, were like 25, like this time of year, $25 coupons to a CPA that I knew and trusted for people's tax returns. I would give them, in the wintertime, I'd give them a certificate off an HVAC company, $25 off your whole home service of your HVAC. My letters were very short and sweet. They still are. They go over, hey, it's getting close to that winter time. In order to preserve your furnace and make sure it's running efficiently, I would highly recommend you have it serviced by a licensed professional. It's normally just a service call, which is not $90. Here's a $25 coupon to help lighten that a little bit. And then I always ask for the referral. It's not just enough to ask for a referral. It is important to train them how to give you the referral. So I'd always tell them, if you know somebody that has a real estate need or could use my services, if you could get permission from them to give me their contact information, I'll make the connection right away. And I let them know how valuable those things are to me and my family. So that was a big turning point for me, because prior to that, I'm related, if you didn't know, like half this town, at least half the South Side. And I thought when I got into real estate that would naturally progress once I got experience enough, but that would just result in my phone being off of everybody calling me and asking me to be their realtor. Well, surprise, surprise, that didn't happen, right? It wasn't until I really started asking for the business that I started to see the business come to me. And I think that's an important thing to note, because it's not just enough to have coffee with someone or just enough to have lunch with somebody. It's important for you in your own way to develop a little script to ask for their business. Now, everybody who's been in business a long time has come into a networking event where they said, hey, Jennifer, I gave your card out the other day, right? And you're thankful, right? Oh, thank you so much. But you didn't see that card come back to you. And they probably meant to. But you know what happens, right? They're at open houses, or hey, I'm just going to call this lead off, say, well, I'm not ready yet for Jennifer. And then someone builds a relationship with them, and that card never gets back to you. So that's why I think it's important for you guys to train them how to refer business. It's not enough for them to hand your card out and say what a wonderful guy or wonderful gal you are. You want them to go out of their way to call you and say, hey, Jennifer, my buddy Mark's coming in from Chicago. He's looking for a townhome. I told him how great you are. Here's his number. He's expecting your call. That is a lead. All right. And that is someone that went out of their way to get you in contact with somebody. So all my letters go out once a month. I handwrite on the envelopes because I do believe that denotes a personal relationship on the side of the letter. I usually have something about it. I type up, I write their name out, and of course I sign it, sincerely yours. But I do type out the actual letter, and I keep it short and sweet, because if you're like me, my attention span is short and sweet. So I don't want to, your first cap letter might be, your first letter you send out explaining what you're doing might be a couple paragraphs long, but everything going there forward should not be anything more than one paragraph. All right, you don't need to tell them the yield is up and how no one cares. Just something sweet, short and sweet, that you're thinking of them, and if they ever have someone that has a real estate need, it would mean the world to you if they would go out of their way and get you that information. Okay.
Do you think handwriting the actual letter that goes in it?
I started out that way. I started out that way.
I'm doing that.
I started out. Nothing's better than a handwritten letter, but I don't know what happened to me. I can't write.
I'm hiring
I can't do my own writing. I end up writing 5 letters. Yes, writing. It's horrible. Yeah. And I used to have such great memories as a kid. I don't know what happened.
So, I'm all about asking for the people, but I never ask for their actual information, their referral. Do you ever get any pushback from that, or people are usually receptive, like, oh, sure, here's their phone number if you want to call? Because we always get people saying, oh yeah, I referred you to so and so, and then of course nothing does happen. But
I got a little script with that. So someone says, yeah, I gave your card a week ago or something, or a month ago. My neighbor was moving. I gave you your card. First of all, I thank them. I say, man, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me that someone had a real estate need and you thought of me. That really does mean a lot to me. If that ever happens again, or you see that neighbor again, they still have a need, see if it's okay if you give me their contact information. I may or may not be able to help them, but that way I always make the connection or the contact, however you want to say it. So I'm just kind of retraining them a little bit. Now my top 20, 25 people, and we'll get to them in a little bit and show you how instrumental they've been to me. They know. Like, they call me up. Hey, Maddie, someone Wells Fargo, they're buying a house. Here's his number. He's expecting your call. That dude's in my car 2 days later. He's buying something. I mean, it is seamless. So you just got to kind of, in my letters, I reiterate how I want the lead to come. That's the last little bit that I put in the letter.
you ask for their actual contact info.
I said, if you ever have someone that you could connect me with, see if you can get permission from them to give me their contact information. I'll always make the connection, and it means the world to me and my
Do you
family.
do that only in your first letter to try to train them that way, or
Every letter.
Every letter. Okay.
Every letter.
Because, like she said, I have that. Obviously, I've already been implementing this, like you talked.
Yes.
And
Always.
I had someone call me and say, "Thank you so much for the bottle of wine. I appreciate it. I've already given your name out like 4 times. Why didn't hear you?"
Awesome. That's what happens.
So
And who's the Dutch? She probably did give your name out 4
Yeah.
times. And they always mean to call you. Like, we're going to call Tyler when we're ready. Call Tyler. But the problem is, and you guys know this, when you see something you want, who's there to help you? Is it the person at the open house? Is it the Zillow, because they called them the Zillow lead just to get, no, they didn't want to bother you.
Yeah.
We'll just bother you when we're ready.
Yeah.
But you want to be involved in the whole process.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why you train your people to make those introductions for you. Steve, you've been doing this for 30 plus years. How do you have success? Because you work your database.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where, wouldn't you say that's what, 70% of your business comes from? Past clients? Is there any certain way that's worked for you that's better than any?
Well, no, but one of the systems I use, which I'll be anxious to hear what Brian uses, contextual. I don't know if this system, which one he, does, but it pretty much makes it idiot-proof if you follow the program. I mean, it gives you the reminders daily, the announcement to keep in touch with them, and it does what it says.
Yeah, and that's important. It's at the hockey goalie. And every now and then, want to get by you, you'll dwell on it. Like, oh my God, they bought a house and I
But
wasn't there.
even for me after 30, it's nice to be here for constant reminders because
Yes.
I get lazy.
Yeah, we do. We do. And this is what happened to me, and it kind of backfired on me. My A list got too big. I got to be strung out about 75 people, and it was too much to really wrap your arms around 75 people. So who belongs in that A list and who belongs in your B and C list? And how can we get our B and C list to be A list? Because our A list are people who know us, love us, want to see us as high character people, and refer a client to you because of you, who you are as a person. So first of all, take a look at your list and see who knows you that way, other than mom, right? Who else is there? What kind of jobs do they have? What kind of people are they around? Are they in a law firm? Are they with Wells Fargo? Are they with Principal? Are they in Hy-Vee's corporate office? They work for the county, sheriff's department. See where I'm going with this? They're around a lot of people every day. A lot of people with jobs. A lot of people who are moving. How do you make them raving fans? How do you make them go out of the way? Because they are going out of the way. It's just easy to shut up. They don't have to give you a referral. But it's just as simple as someone comes to you, a past client says, Jennifer, who's your roofer? We're going to get a new roof. You guys are referral machines, am I right? HVAC, roofers, garden people. I mean, how many times I'm first to know who has a good painter or who has a good septic person, right? We're referral machines. So, and why do you refer those people out? How do you get 25, 30, 40 people to constantly refer your business? Okay, so that's kind of what we're going to touch on today. First of all, I started with that letter. I had 20, 25 people, and a lot of my great friends, a lot of people I knew that I didn't grow up, I just, had a great relationship when I sold him a house. Like, we got along so well, very similar age. And I got to tell you, this one guy, I don't mind even telling you his name. His name is Tim Ratchford. He was a referral, and him and at that time his girlfriend were buying a house, and we got along. So I actually knew someone from his fiance's side. Him and I got along so well, and we're still dear friends to this day. And from him, another person from Wells, he was an IT guy with Wells Fargo. Another Wells Fargo person I became really good friends with, went to his wedding in Cabo, built his new construction home. We had about 4 or 5 guys in this group that referred me like it was probably 5 or 6 people a year for a 5 or 6 year stretch. And they were just my biggest fans, you know, and I really built this system off of them. And it can be, which kind of great, like you get on a Wells Fargo floor and all of a sudden you're like, you know, someone's talking about moving and they say, hey, you should call Matt. And then all of a sudden Josh stands up and says, yeah, I bought a house from Matt. And another guy stands up and says, oh yeah, he was great. I bought a house from him. And you know, you got 5 people on the same floor saying, this is the guy that you should use. It becomes easier. It becomes easier. So I would say in a 10-year period, they'd probably each refer me 20, 25 people. You know, I mean, they were just really, and still dear friends to this day. We still get together and hang out. They're great guys. So how do we instill that? I mean, obviously, you got to be accountable, you got to be professional, you got to be knowledgeable. But everybody I look at in here has all that. Now all you need is a system of making this a reality for you so this happens. And it doesn't happen overnight. I saw the fruits of the labor almost at the end of the first year, doing it every month. And there is the law of reciprocity, right? I give you something, I give you something, I give you something, and all of a sudden you expect something back. We're going to talk about a few fails on my little gifts of value. We had a few fails. Don't try sending food through the mail like chocolates during February. One time I bought a keychain that had my logo on it and it had a little bottle opener. That'd be cool, you know. That didn't make it to the mail, so they send them a ticket saying, go pick it up. You got to pay $3 to get it for a $2 item. That didn't work out well either. One time I sent, it was like forget-me-nots or marigolds. I have a lot of women clients, a lot of female clients too. My single friends, it was kind of a joke. The comments like, don't ever send me flowers. You know, it's just kind of a joke. But so I've had some fails. So most of the time what I try to do is try to tap in to someone's business, you know. Like I told you guys, whether it be someone that owns 4 or 5 dry cleaners around town, hey, and these business owners want to tap into your people too. You know, they want this. And the more that we collaborate with each other, the more power we can have, because I'm up to like 37 people on my A list, and I'll hover maybe, I don't think I'll ever get bigger than 50. Every year or two, you need to look at it to see who, if they're not referring you somebody every year, they probably don't belong on that A list. So try to keep it tight. Right now it's 37. I'll probably cap it at 50, me personally. And I'll look at it every year. Maybe 4 or 5 people will cycle out. I'll look at maybe put 4 or 5 people in. If someone does refer you and they're not in your A list, they become part of your A list. They need to know that they are now on a different category of client. Okay? Right? So when someone does refer me, first thing I do, I write them a handwritten letter, just tell them how appreciative I am. That if someone had a real estate need and you thought of me and you got them in contact with me, it means the world to me. And I will take care of them, you know. And then I give them a little $30 gift card to Jethro's, you know, because Jethro's, I mean, do whatever you want, but there's like 9 of them around town. So no matter whether you're Altoona, you're in Ankeny, they go on the south side, obviously Waukee, West Des Moines, Drake, there's always a Jethro's that you could go to that's pretty accessible. Agreed? I think I used to do skips, but what I found out is, because I love skips, but it's on the south side on Fluor and Watrous there. Not everybody makes it to the south side. If you're having someone in Ankeny, you might not get to the south side, you know. So I wanted to get something that was easily accessible. You had a question?
Yeah. Do you give any Popeyes to your B and C's?
Not my B and C's. We'll get to that. I do networking events that invite them, but I do top Popeyes to my A's. Okay, I do, and I was kind of known as the pumpkin man for a while. You know, I used to drop off pumpkins to my A clients, and they got so used to it. Their kids got used to it, and however many kids they had, how many pumpkins they got, but no less than 2. Because one pumpkin just looks so lonely. Like, it doesn't look right, you know. But 2 pumpkins, even if they're they don't have any kids, they get 2 pumpkins on a minimum. But if they had 4 kids, they got 4 pumpkins. I figured they, they carve them with their kids. And this is where the 70 people become too big, because what happens is you can't, the idea is to spend face-to-face time with them. Okay, and we're going to go over that, how to go deeper with this, because letters and gifts of value are great, but without face-to-face, without a phone call, it's only going to grow so large. This is a high contact industry. So the more face-to-face that you have with these A clients, the higher ROI you have. They will literally, and Tyler, you can kind of attest to this, and I can attest to this for Tyler, because Tyler was, he's learning, and I was trying to give him some ideas on who to have coffee with and how many times to have coffee, which we'll go over. And he ended up having a coffee with somebody, and it got back to me that he had coffee with this guy. Because my wife and this guy work in the same industry. The next day, my wife's calling me, "Who's Tyler Weiss?" I'm like, "Well, he's part of our novel team. He just joined us." "Oh, one of our reps was talking about him, that he's using him by a house, and he has a friend he's going to introduce him to." Literally the day you had coffee with him. I'm like, that's fantastic. I can't wait to tell him, because, I mean, how did that circle back to me? Where he realized meeting with him, that he knew my wife, and his Morrow, and, last name all synced up. But I thought, well, what a great success story that this guy got up, who's like basically sells hospital equipment, right?
Yeah, med sales.
Med sales.
Yes.
And here he is talking about him 2 hours later. That's the power of face-to-face. Okay, so you got to be very, very disciplined with that. But these, like the letters, all those things are great. Networking events, great. Nothing like sitting down with someone over coffee or lunch or a few cocktails, if that's their thing, your thing, and then getting up from the table and saying, if it's someone on your B or C list that's not referring you business, I usually say, I don't know if you have someone currently that you refer your business to, your real estate business to, but if you don't, I would love to be that guy. I would aim make it my top priority, give them a high level of service, make us both look good, and it'd mean the world to me, right? That's my script for a B and C, that person that doesn't currently give me business. Now my A clients, we already said, they're giving me business. So it's more of an appreciative thing and just acknowledging what they've already done and just saying, hey, you've connected me with so many people, I can't thank you enough. I hope I keep earning that. It does mean the world to me. And that's how I leave our conversation. Because the whole entire conversation up to that is about them. It's about their friends, their recreational, their occupation, their goals, their habits.
And you switch out, sometimes a B person starter to become an A person, they're now an A person, and someone's slacking on the A side, they can be knocked down to B, correct?
Exactly.
How many do you recommend being in this group?
Oh, I feel like you should have a list of 250 people total.
But for this really high touch, personal.
20 to start to 25 to start out with. But Jacqueline, if you start with the right 10 people,
No, my
that
problem's the opposite. I'm trying, I'm running like crazy. I'm going all over the place delivering pies to 70 people, and I'm going.
that's what I did. And then what happens is, see, on the pop buys, you want face to face. That's your face to face. So when I end up and I think of my buddy, I don't know why I always think of my buddy John Schwartz when I think about these, because his kids know me as the pumpkin guy. And here's a guy I grew up with. We went to 2 different parochial schools, but I knew him from parochial schools. We went to Downing together. I mean, we've been really good friends for 30 years, 35 years. And I go by his house, and I've sold 3 houses, from the time he's married, and he keeps upping. So I go to his house with the pumpkins, and he brings me in. We're buddies. Let me show you what we painted this room. We did this great.
And then I feel bad when it's like, oh my gosh, I got 5 more to deliver, and I want to spend 45 minutes.
How can you not do that with 75 people? I mean, you might as well take a month off work, right?
Yeah.
75
so what's
people.
that sweet spot for you? I know it's different for you.
Yeah, I mean, I got it at 37 right now, but at that, I was really good at 25. 25 people, I could take a weekend. I just start, or basically Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'd hit different towns, and I'd do exactly what Trady said. Hey, John, I'm in the neighborhood. I got pumpkins for your kids. I want to stop by and drop them off.
When you're doing that kind of drop off, is it spontaneous and then you're just leaving it on the porch, which you're losing the face to face, or are you setting up a meeting that works for them? All those people.
That's a great question. Come September, my gift of value, I let them know, hey, I'm at the end of this month, I'll be dropping my pumpkins to your house. I'm going to call you when I'm on my way. If I catch you, great. I'd love to see you. If I don't, I'll leave them on the porch for you.
Realistically, you just can't always coordinate.
Yeah, you can't always do that. You're not always going to find it. But weekends, you have a better shot at it, right? And we live in a different world. We're just popping by someone's house anymore. It's like, hey, what are you doing? 20 years ago, it was, come in, we got cake, it was all different world, but now it's a little bit of more of a cocooning going on. But remember, these are your friends, these are people who like you, these aren't strangers. And you're not looking to spend an hour and a half there. You're looking to spend maybe 10, 20 minutes. If it turns into it, though, it turns into it. But that's why the little bit smaller the group is. First of all, the less money and the more powerful gifts that you can buy. I mean, you can really buy them something nice every month that has an impact that really sets that law of reciprocity versus just trying to send something vanilla out because it's touching 75 people and you're going to spend $5 to $10 every month on something in that package. That's expensive.
Yeah.
So,
So how would you handle, so like obviously me being younger in the business, I have a ton of friends who are still renting. Am I putting those guys on my list as well? I mean, they're like, once a year they're moving, so their address is always changing until they buy something. Even though they haven't bought with me yet, are they still being added to my list?
well, you're 27.
7.
First of all, the interest rates just dropped a half point today. I'd be calling them like, what are you doing?
I know. No, trust me, I do.
That
all the time.
that might be a touch right
No, for
there.
sure. I do.
Here's it is. How do they look at you, value you? How do you value them? Where do they work? Are they around people that might be able to, even though, remember, it's not just about them and their room, it's about them and everybody they know.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody knows 240 people and I have 25 people on my list and assume they know 240 people, how many people am I really marketing to?
Yeah.
Is it 20, 25 people? No.
It's just a weird conversation to have. It's like, hey, what's your mailing address? And you're like, why? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, why do you need my address? That's where I get weird. I don't know what to say.
Let's just call them up and just say, hey, Brian, this is Tyler. I'm starting a client appreciation program. I just want to build top of mind where I'd like to work with the people that you call friends, coworkers, family. I'd like to get your mailing list so I can send you something of value every month. I'm hoping to send gifts to you that you find valuable, which they will. So I send lottery tickets, scratch tickets. If the lottery gets really high, I'll buy Powerball. And now here's what one thing, last thing you want to do is find out your A client just won 390 million, and you're like, I'll be at work tomorrow. So what I do is actually I hold the lottery ticket, I just send them a copy of it, and then put their name on the original on the back, sign them, and they say, I've done something kind of cute, play on words like, hey, you gambled on me as your real estate agent, now let's go in it together. Here's your lottery ticket, we're in for 360 million. Something like that. So, and honestly, if I do win, I have no problem splitting $390 million with somebody minus the IRS, right? And you only do that when it gets really ridiculously high. If you want to do that, on a 90 million type deal like it is now, fine. But I only do that when it's ridiculously high. Or scratch tickets, which is always kind of our go-to this month because of St. Patty's Day and the luck of the Irish type thing. I don't know. So. April is spring cleaning, so I usually try to get someone like a carpet cleaner and say, hey, I'm going to tap you into so many people. Would you be willing to give $30, $25 off the whole home carpet cut? So your letter just says, hey, I know everybody's getting to that spring, that swing of spring, and you start doing your spring cleaning. I hope this helps. These guys and you have to know the company's a reputable company, and the company has to know what you're sending out. I even had to make some of the certificates myself. And have them honor it and make sure they had a copy of it so they could honor it. But generally, and think about it, if I owned an HVAC company and just everybody in this room sent it to their top 30 people, I have 330 people that might not know anything about my business. Now, if 10% of them called me, I have potential for 30 new clients that know me as someone when the furnace fails, the AC fails, all I had to do is show up and clean their furnace, put a new filter in, put a sticker on their furnace, and now all of a sudden, you see the power in that as another business owner? You see the power of a carpet cleaning person, especially if we all work together and say, hey, I got this great contact, I'm getting this certificate or this coupon or gift card, who wants to be in on it,
2 things. Another idea for getting that address, because I'm with you, it can be awkward, right? Even if you tell them you're going to give them things. Holiday cards. So it's really comfortable to ask people, hey, I'm updating my holiday list. I always send a Christmas letter. You're a little young, but I started it when I was young. They might think you're a little goofy. Are you married? It helps if you're
No,
married.
I have a dog. I
I
can
sit
live
my
with
guy
Yeah,
friends in
exactly.
America. So you want to talk about awkward?
Yeah, but Holy Liz helps a lot. I got a lot of actresses that way. And obsessive, you don't always have to ask.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was gonna ask you is where do past clients fit in with that A-list? Because I kind of focused initially on them.
Yeah, if
But
you're
I'm
not
not
from,
sure.
yeah, if you're not from here, obviously, you know, you have to build your client base somehow and past clients as you get. And I would look at past clients as, I mean, if you really get along with them well, I'm talking well, they probably deserve a chance on that A-list. Give them a shot, especially while you just closed. Let them know.
But I was putting all of them.
Just let them know. Just
And
say,
I
hey,
think that-
listen, I really got along well. If you feel comfortable having candid conversations, I have no problem with it. So you can go and say, you know, I really got along well with you. I would really be honored if there was some way I could, be in the consideration of representing your friends, your family, and your coworkers. You
So
know,
the
and
people you clicked
people
would be
you
kind of
click
a quick way of thinking.
yeah, so getting back to those Wells Fargo guys, you know, I got along with them so well. We go out and have drinks, we go out and
Right,
have
like friends, so people you would want to actually socialize with.
yes,
is that
people
the way
that
to
you would
think about it?
socialize with. Like when they invite you to their wedding, if they were
Yeah.
getting married, and we got along so well, you know. Like I said, I went to Cabo with this guy when it was wedding, you know. It's a very tight knit group that I felt honored to be a part of it. But yeah, and then you can also host. You really want to like just double your referral business. Host a housewarming party for them. Tell them, say, hey, I know you guys are probably excited about getting this house, and you're gonna probably have some friends and family over. I'd like to sponsor that and be a part of that if you don't mind. I'll bring the booze, I'll bring the cases of beer. You guys just handle the invites, the date, and the food. And I'll bring a couple bottles of this, couple bottles of wine. You might have $400, in a housewarming party for somebody. And then they're going to invite 25, 30, their mom and dad's there. And this is how I really got involved with the Wells guys, is because they would have a lot of their friends that work there. Every time I walked out of there with clients. You don't want to do that for everybody because you don't get along, you don't synergize everybody that way. But those people that you do, I would highly recommend them because they're going to introduce you as their friend and their realtor. Okay.
My biggest question is when you're scheduling your face-to-face with your A clients, how do you handle? Because at first it's going to be awkward, like not seeing them obviously, but it's like kind of weird to ask them to call me and stuff. But like I texted someone the other week, they're like, yeah, dude, like you're my realtor. I don't know what this is about. Like you're my guy when I'm ready to buy. It's like, but yeah, I'll get coffee. Like how do you handle like?
It's not a sales pitch.
And that's what I'm not. I was like, man, I'd love to catch up. Let's grab coffee. He's like,
yeah.
I don't know what this is about, but you're my guy. Like I'm not ready to buy yet. That's what it's about. I'm like, no, like.
No, I just want to catch up with you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. See, here's what he's thinking. I'm your guy when I'm ready. But really, the thing is, I want to be your guy when all your friends.
Yeah,
are ready.
and I don't want to. Hey, man, I want all your referrals.
No. You say, hey, I would love just to catch up. If coffee doesn't work, let's do lunch or go have some drinks. Someone in your age group, having some cocktails. I just want to catch up. I feel,
That's what I'm trying to say.
That's all. That's all. Okay.
You just get objection.
And then when you're done having the drinks, you're done. Then it's important to say, I appreciate you saying that I would be your realtor when it's time. If you ever have any friends or family and coworkers that it would mean the world to me if you could make those introductions.
Okay.
All right. And you normally would follow up with that after that face-to-face with a handwritten letter. Hey, Doug, it was good to catch up. Thank you for your time. I'm going to reach out in a couple of months and maybe we can do coffee or lunch again. Just simple things, okay? Now, how do you touch your B and C's? Because there's more of them than there are your A's. There's really two ways that I've done it, and then we added a third layer this year that has been better than anything we've ever done. And really, the first way was we did a newsletter. And the newsletter, I know everybody's like, newsletter, but I did a newsletter, and I wanted to create something I thought people would open and thought was cool. So it's branding. We do it through constant contact, but we do a newsletter and we blast this to everybody. We blast this to any leads that would come in. We just put them part of this big master list. So we're up to about 4,800 people right now the newsletter goes out to. And there has about a 16 to 18% open rate. So, we're touching 800,000 people, 800 to 1,000 people every month. So, and I get really good compliments off it. And really what it is just everything that's going on in Des Moines. Whether it be plays, Iowa Cup schedule, farmers markets schedules, Disney on Ice comes in. We really try to focus it on the month that's so like in October we would have a haunted open, when the haunted houses, where they're at, times, mazes, all those things, pumpkin patches that are open, really kind of keep it to the month that we're in. We do brand ourselves a little bit. We haven't done this yet, although it's been my idea to maybe do a little video up front with it and just say, hey, thanks for opening up our newsletter. If you find it interesting and you think someone else would find it interesting, feel free to forward it to them. They can subscribe here, or if you're getting this in error or don't want to be a part of it, unsubscribe here. And then the rest of it, and I think a little video would help, And then at the bottom, we have 3 or 4 of our top new listings or whatever. And of course, something at the bottom that asks for the referrals. And this is not a big ROI, but at least once or twice a year, I'll have someone actually reply with the newsletter in their reply saying, hey, Matt, I'd like to talk about buying a house. So I know that's what they're replying from is a newsletter. So it does work. Not a huge ROI, but it does work. It helps keep top of mind, right? So I'm sending a letter with something of value with handwritten address on it to my top. I'm sending a newsletter out to everybody, right? Then you get your unsubscribe list. And, usually it's the leads that come in that you put in there that will unsubscribe that don't know you. Every now and then you'll get something like, ouch, that hurts. Like someone you do. Like, Mom, Jesus, you just unsubscribed my newsletter.
For your newsletter, do you put that together yourself? I know you said you use Constant Contact, but
My assistant does it right now. We really pull from a lot of different sites online to where to get this stuff. What's kind of neat about it is not only can you see who opened the newsletter, but each thing we're advertising, or like whether it be like Disney on Ice or Iowa Cubs, they all have a link to the websites or where to get the tickets or where to, Hoyt Sherman's got something, or whatever's going on. It'll actually show you how many people clicked into it, each link. So people are actually using it, kind of like a Catch Des Moines. You've heard of everything. Catch Des Moines, Want to do something Des Moines? Catch Des Moines. There's been a lot of times I've referred back to my own newsletter to see what the heck's going on in town. If there's something to do tonight. So, so as far as the B's and C's go too, we try to do 4 networking events a year. We use the mansion a lot for it. You guys are always welcome to use the mansion or out here even, or just go somewhere else, whether it be a pumpkin patch or whether it be a pumpkin patch, during that time of year instead of dropping off pumpkins, you can go to a pumpkin patch, everybody come to you, pick out pumpkins, whether it be, we've done barbecue, beer tasting events, we do our Santa event, we do the Haunted Mansion, as many of you might have seen that, where we spent a lot of money to decorate the mansion like this and invite all of our friends through. We have 3 or 4 agents that do this with us. And the more agents that do it, it drives down the cost. So it's kind of fun getting people there. You invite 250 people, and you might get 30 to show up, but it's still face to face with 30 people. So, and then of course we always follow up with letters thanking them for coming. Our Santa event, we hire Santa. He's like the real deal Santa. He's got this pimp robe and everything. He's decked out.
Very legit.
He's legit, isn't he? Brian's
legit.
he doesn't have a fake.
No, he's got the real. He's the real. He's a 3rd generation Santa. Like he could be Santa. But we hire a professional photographer. Obviously, the mansion kind of lends itself to be decorated really nice, and then we take pictures of their families and then send them off to their families. And then ask them to tag you in Facebook because they're going to post their family picture on Facebook. So the networking events work really well. I would at least try to do 2 of them a year if I was you guys. Whether you rent out a hall or whether you're doing it in your own house, whether you're using the mansion or one of our other beautiful locations. I mean, do what you can, but try to bring people together.
Okay. You just invite your A clients to
I invite my A and my B and C's. Because you're only going to get so many people to come. If you only invited your age, you might have 5 to 8 people show up. If you invite your 250 people I invite, you might get 20 or 30. And that's what you're looking for. So if I get 30, Brian gets 30, Jim Farrell gets 30, now all of a sudden we have a packed open house. And then it happens every now and then where one of my A clients was a friend of his, and of course me and Jenny really cross over with our families. But generally, like your people, Jennifer, are not going to be my people. So it doesn't happen very often. So you can collaborate with other agents, bring the cost of this all down. What do we have in that for this year? $400 a person? $200?
I don't think we had that. I think might have like $230.
$230 to touch 30 of your people with food. I mean, we had a lot of food, soups, right? I mean, we had a lot of stuff.
Drinks.
And I mean, we had, I mean, the coolest thing about it was just how impressive it was to my clients. I mean, all of them were like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, this is,
Yeah.
you know, top notch. No one does this. So, you know, they shared it with their friends on social media.
Tag you in it, right?
Yeah, and the photos were the great thing because not only could we send that out to them, you know, and they just have it, but whenever I send it out, I also posted it on social media, you know, so all of their friends love it. And then on top of that, they're going to make, you know, all their Christmas cards with it. So, I mean, it was win-win for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And we keep doing it every year. We keep buying more decorations and more decorations. It gets to be pretty cool. The haunted Halloween stuff's out of control. Like, yeah. Side note, fog machines will set off the fire alarms. Side note.
Well,
Fog machines. Fog machines. So we just rip them out of the wall because literally strobe lights like 5 minutes before it starts. Like, oh, I kind of like the strobe lights, but the sound go away.
wasn't it Lance's grandkids that were running the?
Yeah, they were up in the attic and then acting like psychopaths.
So, I mean, it was a legit haunted house that they could walk up through and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, I probably spent. I mean, I took the brunt of the cost.
You took the brunt.
About $4 grand just on decorations. So yeah,
Thanks, man.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, every year we probably add $1 grand to that, you know. So it's pretty robust.
What days and hours do you guys do that?
It was Sunday, right?
Did a Sunday.
Just Sundays?
Did a
And
Sunday.
right at sundown. I mean, it's like which is like 5 to
Yeah, sir.
5:30 to 8.
Like 2 in the afternoon.
8:30. Yeah, yeah. No, it's fun. It's fun. It's fun decorating too. I mean, from a broker standpoint, you can spend time with your agents and decorating. It's fun, you know. Taking down is the hard part.
I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, but yeah,
Thanks,
yeah,
man.
noticed. So we got something sending out to our A's. It's very personal, right? We're sending something to our B's and C's with our newsletter. We're doing our networking events 2 to 4 a year, bringing everybody together. And this is really the layer that we've added to it this year that I think actually has the highest ROI. It's kind of what Tyler was doing and what we're doing. I'm trying to have coffee once a week with someone from my A's and coffee or lunch or something with one of my B's. And then I have that conversation. I can't tell you the ROI on this. Like you're walking away, like literally I walked away with one of my A clients and I had a listing by that afternoon with someone at Urbano. He moved out of state, so I didn't have him as a buyer either. But had he been in state, I'd have had a buyer too. So basically what it is the same thing Tyler did with his buddy Andrew. You know, good catching up and everything. You ask for the referral and then the next 2 hours they're thinking about it. So my guy's name's Fletcher, actually, believe it or not, Fletcher. We got up from Zanzibar, and then 2 hours later, he's like, you know what? I was thinking about it. I actually do have a buddy that's selling a house. His name's Adam Bromley. Here's his number. And I had a listing that afternoon. $240,000 Urbandale listing that sold in like 2 weeks. So now with my B people, I have so many connections with you guys too. People you know, people that are friends, people that have coffee with you or lunch that you just, for whatever reason, don't see all the time or don't connect with or past clients. Go have coffee with them. And I know that first initial phone call is a little tough. That's not always easy, but once you get and you do it, just like calling anybody else, right? Once you do it, you realize it's easy, but then once you realize how effective it is. So now all of a sudden your B's and C's, you have a chance to really pull them in to your A list. And if your A list becomes 80 people because there are 80 people giving you a referral every year, we'll figure it out, right? I mean, that's a good problem to have. Maybe you can take off a week and drop off pumpkins. You'll have the money. We'll worry about the time. I don't know about that, but you'll have the money. So if someone is referring you every year and stuff, these are your A clients. You need to let them know how appreciative you are. Now, another layer that I have yet to add in, but I really do believe, so I try to write 5 letters a day. No matter what I do during the day, if I write 5 handwritten letters, I feel like I kind of won the day. I did my minimal exercises for the day. So where these letters come from, they either come from someone I ran into spontaneously at the grocery store or something like that. It is a lead. Maybe I went on a listing appointment. My way of kind of separating myself would be a handwritten letter to saying, thank you for having me in your home. I'd be honored to have your listing. I'll really work hard for you. And, my goal is to make sure I earn your business for life. And I put a $5 gift card to Starbucks in there, just so there's something in there. These are all handwritten letters. So I just try to make 5 a day. Now, if I see someone's dog passed away or something on Facebook and they're one of my A or B clients, C clients, I got their address. I have a whole stack of cards. I have sympathy cards, I have congratulation cards, I have, all these cards in my drawer already there. I already have a stack of Jethro's $30 gift cards. I have 55 coffee cards. I'm not spending my day and hours going to fetch them when I need them. I already have them. It's part of my business plan. And
So Matt,
yeah.
That backfired on me. So I took your advice on that
Oh
one.
God, which one?
About $100 worth of gift cards for cupcakes to give people on their birthday.
Yeah.
Just a little $10 card, and the place went out of business.
Yeah, I think Starbucks is pretty healthy. I don't know.
I sent like 3.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Try like Hy-Vee or something.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. Plus, we get multiple locations. That's the key. Whatever you're sending, multiple locations. I think Starbucks. I haven't checked the stock market today. I think they'll be around tomorrow. I think Hy-Vee's doing okay.
I figured you.
What are you recommending for the actual cards? Like, so when I did coffee with Andrew like 2 weeks ago, I went out and got like a thank you card, but it was kind of awkward. So like, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually went and bought my own stationery. It has my logo, my name on it, and my envelope has the Remax logo and my name on it.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's just like a plain.
Yeah, and here's
Right.
the trick. Free printing here. Once you get your stationery, you can just copy color it. Or
Okay.
color
Yeah,
copy it.
I think we're just gonna put our
Your
logos in
envelopes,
there.
however, if you buy 1,000 envelopes and you're done by the end of the year, you send out the right amount of letters. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You have to worry about paying $200 for more envelopes. It will pay itself off. So, but that's how I judge. Like, you buy 1,000 cards and you're still sitting on 500 of them at the end of the year. You didn't send out enough. Same thing with your envelopes. So,
You should
yeah.
share with us where you're getting your cards from.
oh shoot, God, we got all
I mean,
kinds.
not right. I mean, not right now. Just
Yeah,
so.
And you can print the envelopes through the color copier too.
there you go.
So like the people that you're seeing like in the grocery store or whatever, and you're sending them the card, are you sending them the $5?
I am.
You are?
I am.
Okay.
I am, because I'm one to getting used to when my letters come. It's like grandma, and it's your birthday. You saw that card from grandma, there's $5 in there, right? It's kind of the same feeling I want you to get when you get my card. Something's on there. That's why when all these guys got the post thing saying go to the post office for your gift, they're like, what did he send me? Like you paid $3 for like, oh man, they're calling me like, dude, so yeah, fail. I fail. There's a couple fails. And a lot of it is not pre-planning what you're doing and trying to chase yourself. Oh God, I gotta send something out and trying to make it happen. You really should think about the rest of the year, what you're going to send. You should know in July. So in May, I'll generally send like a $5 gift card to Dairy Queen. But hey, it's getting hot out there. It's time for ice cream. I was thinking about you, real quick. If you come across a really cool place, like I remember when I first time I met somebody at Zanzibar, I'm like, man, this is a cool coffee joint, man. It's really got a cool vibe. And so I bought a bunch of $5 gift cards from there, knowing I had to send them out in the fall. Say, hey, I know this isn't close for you. But this is a really cool joint. I hope you get a chance to check it out. So I think ahead with those things. And then 2 of those months, you're doing pop-bys, so you don't need to send something about you. So you need 10 things. And I do think if we collaborate together, we're better, because I know if I was a business owner in that way, I'd rather tap into all 13, 14 of you than just one of you. So if I had an HVAC business, each one of you want a $25 gift card from me, I'm all about it. You're gonna send it out to 340 people, of which maybe 30 to 50 people I'm gonna meet that I didn't know. That might be lifelong clients when their thermocouple goes down or their cracked heat exchange. That's opportunity for me. For $25, I'm with it. And that's how you gotta sell it to your business owners. Say, I'm doing you a favor. I'm gonna get you in contact with them. So it is important to have these touches, but the ROI of face-to-face cannot be beat. It cannot be beat. Make sure at least once a week, if not twice a week, you implement, as you get forward with this, coffee with people. And, I say coffee, Because Jennifer, you and I are going to have coffee, I'm at $15 in it. If I go have lunch, I'm going to have 35, 40. And we go have cocktails, God knows. You know, if I'm with Tyler, I better bring a credit card. You know, so. Yeah.
Just in Vegas.
That's just me. You know, so I try to keep it, you know, if you're going to do this every week, you want to try to keep it affordable. But here's the thing, and this goes for every line of your business, whether it's your sphere, whether it's online leads, whether it's your open houses, which is time and energy. You have to know, you have to set yourself a budget. So I think my first year with 25 people, I was going to set like a $6,000 budget. I'm going to send something to them and then if I got 30 deals from that, how much money did I have in? How much money did I have out? And you need to run your business like that in every single line that you have, right? Speaking of Hy-Vee, you know, I've talked about this many times. I'm a big fan of Hy-Vee. They know how much their baker did versus their butcher. They know how much the market grill did versus their pharmaceutical stuff. But they don't just have one reason to go. They're not just a grocery store. You know, you can't just work your sphere. You got, you know, online leads, open houses, working FISBOs, expireds, you know, new construction, lot sales, whatever it is you're into. You got to have multiple ways, lines of business. In the same way Hy-Vee has probably 14 ways. They're caterers, they're grocers, they're butchers, they're bakers, they're pharmaceutical, they got wine and spirits, they actually have BDI, which delivers beer and booze to bars. What am I missing? They're flour and
Clothing.
you know, clothing. They have a plethora of dog, cat,
The restaurant and
stuff, the restaurant itself. And you know, believe me, they know what each one of these departments is doing, how much money they have into that department, how much money is coming out of it. They don't look at a whole store as a whole and say, hey, we're up 12% or we're down 9%. They know the butcher's up 5%. They know the market grill's up 2%. They know the floral's down 5%. And that's how you have to run your business. It's the only way that you can look at this and say, I'm spending too much time at open houses. I'm worth $400 an hour. What am I doing 4 hours a day? And I only sold 3 houses this year. And I spent, you know, 30 weeks in it. That might not be your forte. Or maybe, you know, so you got to look at this from that angle and make sure that you look at my sphere, like, oh my God, I got 25 referrals this year. Maybe I need to pump more money into it. You know, we send Jolly Holiday lights out. That's not cheap. That's the expensive one. You know, it used to be $10. I think it's 20 now.
You can get for 10, but you have to be a sponsor.
Have to be a
That's what I do.
sponsor. Yeah, so I mean, that's, you know, sending $20 tickets out to 37 people, you know, that's quite the gift. So it's okay to go all in on a gift like that if you only send something at $5 to $10 value every other month. You know, so that's basically where I'm at with it. $5 to $10, whatever is in that envelope, is worth that. You know, if I'm sending scratch cards out, you know, still $5 to $10 worth. So.
Do you send a disclaimer that says that if they win, you get part of it? Or
The Powerball,
Just throwing that out.
the Powerball, I just sent them a copy of the ticket. You missed that. I don't actually send the ticket, and I signed the back. Last thing I want to do is someone to win 390 million. I'm like, awesome, call me to the house. Awesome, glad I could help. You know,
Refer you to buildings.
When you're first starting out with your list, do you just treat everybody as an A client right away and just gonna see where they fall in the category?
No. Because believe it or not everybody thinks you're this high caliber, high character
Sure.
person.
So
you
you
got-
got,
I look at-
I do. I just don't know where to, like, I think they're all gonna be great A people, but
Yeah,
they
they're
might
not.
not be.
Now,
Okay.
who knows you, loves you, wants to see you succeed? Who would buy a home from you because you're Tyler, not because you're a great real estate agent or even a competent one? They would just do it because there are people out there that would do that.
Yeah.
I know because I was one of those agents where people bought homes from me. I had no idea what I was doing. Thank God for Joanne. Her agents like Joanne, and that's basically what I'm doing up here. You know, so many agents like Joanne and Ken Clark. I go on and on. The agents that have mentored me and given me, and now, you know, at some point in time, it's time to get back. You know, and train what you know what's worked for you and what's done for you, and all of you. You know, either there now or going to be there. So it's important to do that. Give back what's been given. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna let Brian here take over in a few minutes. I want to leave you with this. When people give you a referral, you better have a plan to give them an exceptional experience, right? And I say experience, right? It's not. It is a journey. They're not a transaction. And if you look at one person as a transaction, boy, are you missing the picture. Because if you really give someone a great experience, you give someone great service, they will go out and talk about it. They will tell their friends. And when you ask them for a referral, they will not hesitate to give it to you. But here's what and I want to say experience, and I use the restaurant analogy because I grew up in restaurants. All of us have been to restaurants where you left and you've been satisfied, but you weren't going to post something on Facebook about it. You weren't going to tell your neighbor, hey, did you check out Simon's? I mean, did you check out Javia's? Man, we had a great, experience there. And there's a lot of people at play in our industry as well as the restaurant industry that provides that experience, right? You walk into a restaurant, the ambiance of the place, the host or hostess, the waiter or the waitstaff, obviously the actual food itself, the cooks, the people that bring you your check. I mean, there's a whole things going on. And same thing with the real estate. You know, your lender, you got us, you got our back end services. You know, you have termite inspectors, appraisals, inspectors. There are a lot of people providing this for us. So, but you're the quarterback. You're the one that's getting everybody in the right position to be successful. So if you can give a good experience they will talk about it. And they'll have no problem giving you referrals when you ask for it. And when they give you a referral, and you take that referral, and you give them an exceptional experience, what happens is that referral goes back to that person. Good or bad, they will. And they'll say, man, Jacqueline was the best. You were right. We would refer her to anybody, and we'll use her again. So when this plays into what you're talking about, Tyler, because you're starting this. At first, I'm going to refer you somebody because of who you are. Once you prove yourself to me to be a high caliber, competent agent, and that person gets back to me and tells me what a great job you did, now I'll refer you because of the agent. First, I'm going to do you a favor. Now, once you prove that to me, I'm going to do my sphere a favor by getting them in contact with you. And that's where the magic lies, is it turns. At first, it's me doing you a favor. Now I'm doing them a favor by getting in contact with you because I want everybody to have that experience, right? I don't want them to fall into somebody else's hands and have a bad experience, or even a bad experience. I want them to have a great experience. They're talking about it. They're there at the housewarming party again. You know, does that make sense to everybody? So have a plan for the service part of it too. Don't just go through the motions. And that exceptional level of service is different for everybody. Sometimes it's just letting mom and dad in after the 5th time you've already been to the house. You know, sometimes it's being there right after the sale when something goes wrong. And you're there. You're at their doorstep, looking at the problem, advising them, getting them in contact with professionals that can solve their problem, empathizing with their problem. You know, does that make sense? Sometimes just a well-calibrated process too of knowing. I got so tired of having the same conversations over and over and over again. I started to type them up and then send them out automatically. Here's our 4 inspectors we recommend. You know, you can go off the list, but these are licensed insured. They don't regulate that. I mean, how many times have you said that? To where now it's just, I just typed it up. Your home was built between 1941 and 1963. You might want to consider a sewer scope, right? I mean, I got tired of having 5 conversations like that a day. So now I send them out automatically. You know, now that your offer's accepted, now what? I give them a timeline of what's going on behind the curtain, what we're doing for them, in order that it's being done. You know, the do's and don'ts. Anybody's been in business a long time. You've had someone quit their job halfway through the transaction, right? Or never. I had someone quit their job. I had one guy go buy a motorcycle and he kicked him out of his DTI. So now, I mean, nothing doesn't happen very often, but it happens often enough. You don't want to do it ever happen again. So I have the do's and the do nots. You know, do get me your information within 24 to 40 hours of requesting it. You know, do source any deposits. You know, and then the don'ts, right? Don't pull any more credit. Don't buy furniture. Don't lose your job. Don't, I had the don't put money in your bank account that can't be sourced. Has that ever happened to you? Like, where's this $5,000 come from? And like, well, it's got to be sourced, right? You've been there too. So put that out there. You know, pre-type it up, make it cool, and then send it out there. And then last but not least, we have the utility information. How many times do you type up utility information and send it before you just have it pre-typed in alphabetical order? You know, and then send it to them. Hey, he's getting ready for your utility transfer. Find your, here you go. And then last but not least, I have a list of preferred providers. Say, hey, you may need some things after the sale. Here's the professionals that I use. Obviously, you got to keep updating that. Here's a list of them. These are people I find to be very high value at what they do. You know, so you can pre-automate those things throughout the transaction. And I would highly recommend it. Otherwise, you keep having the same conversations over and over and over and over. And they have something to refer back to. You know. So, any questions before I let Brian take over and wrap this up?
So I was going to do the scratch off tickets for the month of March.
Yeah,
too,
I
and
do too.
I'm designing it on Canva today. But you're saying that I shouldn't hit my B and C's with them, just hit the A's, spend more money on the scratches, and then just have your newsletter in your client appreciation events for the B's and C's.
That's what I do. To say that's what you should do or should only do, I don't know. I mean, you know, I don't know if there's any right or wrong in ever connecting with anybody, but I spend more money on my A's. There is something different. They are my first class passengers. They have a comfortable seat. They have a cocktail, their own, you know, they're eating shrimp cocktail. They're not back here eating crackers and, you know, there's a difference. Your B and C's are flying coach.
You're just saying you'll spend a lot more money on B's and C's.
And a lot more attention, yes. People who refer me business know they're in a different category than people who don't.
But you need to send them that like welcome email or that welcome letter,
yeah,
like, hey, this is part of the appreciation
Yep.
to get us started.
I'm starting I call it client appreciation program, and then I CAP after that, and so now I call it CAP, and just let them know that I find you to be a high value person. I hope you feel the same way. I'd really like to identify you as someone that I'd like to get to know better, and also work with anybody that you would call friend. You know, so I'm going to send you something that hopefully you find valuable every month. You know, in a way of just keeping me in mind and show you how much I appreciate our relationship. And if you would ever know of anybody that has a real estate need, I hope you go out of your way to make those introductions. Call me with their contact information. I'll make them my number one priority. Sincerely yours, Brian. That sound good?
Mm-hmm.
That sound good? Anybody else before I let Brian take over? Now, Brian's going to teach you how to keep it all in front of you. Maybe.
It's the goal.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks.
Show for this.
We'll start with the slideshow.
Okay.
I don't know if I can follow Matt's presentation here. Man, but I'm going to talk a little bit about CRM. So we'll pull up this a little bit. All right. So everyone know what a CRM is? Does everyone have a CRM here? Who does not have a CRM? Everyone has a CRM. Okay. So CRM. What are some of the CRMs that we're using here today? I know what you guys are using now. You guys are now on Follow Up Boss after our conversation. Steve, what are you using? Contactually. Okay. Contactually. Anyone else using Contactually?
I have Buffini.
Buffini plan. Okay. How long have you been on that?
About a year.
Okay. So Ryan's using that too. So this class is designed for people without CRM, so you know, no, I'm just kidding. We'll walk through it here and just kind of talk about how I'm currently using my CRM. Matt talked a little bit about how to use the CRM for automation through deals. So I refer to that as the back end. So I think that, we've got front end and we've got back end. Go ahead and go to the next one here. We'll kind of start talking about it. So I don't have control up here of that, right?
Actually, you can.
Do it.
I've got it in both
Okay,
screens.
okay, perfect. So what is the CRM? We know that's a contact relationship management system. I also use mine as a scheduler. For me, I try to keep all of my conversations as much as I can within the CRM. So even though clients do have my phone number, I try to, as much as I can, go actually through the app that Follow Up Boss has contactually. They all have kind of apps that we can do that through. Database for your sphere, and then back end system from the contract close, and then also the drip system. That work? There we go. Okay, so front end use. So who here does like online leads, Facebook marketing, those kinds of things? Anyone? Okay, so for me, a lot of that, or I should say all of that, is feeding into my CRM. And it's all about how fast I can contact them, right? everyone knows that it's speed to lead with those kinds of people. I mean, the truth is that when someone calls you on a Zillow or a realtor, all that kind of stuff, if you don't respond pretty quickly, they're talking to somebody else just as fast as they can click on another property. It just is what it is, okay? So for me, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to throw out, Matt talked a little bit about experience. I have these things set up on the front end so that I can make sure that I'm giving them a quick experience and they know that I'm Johnny on the spot, okay? So first thing, obviously, we've got our contact, converse, connect, listen, convert. So for me, I'm looking at these as my C's, right? And you'll see shortly why this is important to me, because it's how we have our system set up. Because who here is just a single agent? Of you single agents, do you want to be a single agent forever? Yeah? I think most people would like to expand to a team. Most people, not all people. Most people would like to expand to a team so that at 10 o'clock on Saturday night, they don't have to go and show that house for $170,000 that's going to sell if they don't get there, right? I mean, I'm sure we've all been there. So it'd be nice at some point in time to have another agent under you. So for me, between my, I don't have another agent under me, but I do have an assistant. And the whole idea is to be able to take a system that I can write all of this down, I can have this all in front of it, and I can pass it to the next person. I don't really even have to train you. All you have to do is simply open up the window and you can see what information I'm looking for pretty quick. Shouldn't say I don't have to train you, there's some training there, but it's very helpful to have this, right? And I'll admit a lot of it is even just me as you start getting in conversations, making sure that I'm asking those questions through that script, right? Next up. Okay, so what I'm using, has anyone else ever heard of LP Mama for online leads coming in, those questions? No, it's a Tom Ferry thing, talks a lot about it. So this is my adaptation of LP Mama, right? So these are things that I'm trying to figure out from someone as quickly as possible through my conversations. Excuse me. I want to know the location. So I want to know where they're looking. And that location, and you'll see how things open up once I show you my follow-up boss, what that means in location. Location doesn't just mean they're only looking in West Des Moines. To me, it also has to do with what that lot looks like. Are they looking for something that's a little bit more secluded? Those kinds of things. Amenities. So when I'm looking at amenities, I'm looking at the basics of your bedrooms, your bathrooms, those kinds of things. But also, does it have a finished basement? Is it a walkout basement? Those kinds of things. And again, you'll see how this kind of expands. Price. So I'm looking for that price range. Timeline. Motivation, do they have an agent, mortgage, and appointment? So Lat Mama, it's just location, amenities, price, timeline, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment. And I do it in that order, right? So that's just, so I know as soon as I'm getting someone on the phone, I'm casually walking them through that. Now, you're not always going to get all this information. I think that we've all met people, and I'm one of them. If you started asking me too many questions on this first conversation, I don't want to talk to you anymore. So it kind of comes, it's a living, breathing thing. And I actually am changing this as I'm going through showings with the people, right? Because a lot of this actually changes. They might even tell you, hey, I'm looking at only south of Grand. Turns out they're totally open for Waterbury or Beaverdale or whatever it may be, right? Okay. Okay, so location. So schools, again, I'm talking about a few things there. So schools, proximity to job, proximity to lifestyle, city, suburb, country setting. A big part of our job is to hear someone with what neighborhood they're talking about, why they like that neighborhood, and then figuring out, obviously based on their price point, if they can even get into that neighborhood, right? There's obviously certain neighborhoods that, I'll use that south of Grand again. Will north of Grand work? Because they love the south of Grand because they love the character and they like being right there by Ingersoll. They like all of that area over there. They like to be able to do that. Well, what other things can I present to them that are often like this? But it helps to have this information so that way when I see other properties come up on the MLS, I'm shooting them off. So that's kind of my secret is every morning I'm looking at my CRM, I'm looking at the MLS, and I'm scanning through to see what deals I can send people, right? I don't do auto. Do you guys all do auto emailers or do you send them yourself? Auto. So what I found within auto was this. When you auto send it, it's very easy, in my opinion, to see that it was in fact an auto email. Doesn't really talk much about the property, doesn't do any of that. So what I'm doing a lot of times in that is I'll set it up so that it's concierge mode, and then it comes to me. And then if I think that one fits, I'll send it. Because there's other things on the MLS that I can't necessarily view, certain things like that. There are certain parts of a property, certain attributes of a property that I don't feel I can put into a search on the MLS. Then it makes it sound like I'm not really listening to them. Zillow sends them stuff every day that doesn't listen to them. They put in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, $260,000. I want to separate myself. So that's the reason that I do that. And I do that by looking through this stuff and making sure that that criteria matches. Now, I'm only doing that with HOTS, right? I'm not doing that with everyone. So I know that you might say, well, that sounds like a lot of time. But you can really knock through that in about 30 minutes. And it's kind of what I want to do anyway, because I want to know what the market's doing, right? Okay. Can you pull up my follow-up boss?
I can escape.
And then?
And just hold still. Thank you. There you go.
Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's do this. Okay. All right. So here are, going back to that lap mama, here are my custom fields that I've created in Follow-Up Boss. Now, Follow-Up Boss, just like Contactually and a lot of the others, they come with already, you've already got some fields that you can fill out for information. But I've made these my own so that way I can kind of keep track of that. So again, I've got that location. So this is a client of mine. I can see some of the things of, obviously I've got her in hot stage, so that to me, that's someone who's looking to transact as soon as I can find them the house. There's nothing really that's holding her up so much as just finding that property. I can add tags, right? So I've got a lead, I've got shown, because I'm trying to keep track of who I have or have not shown with that. I write a quick little blurb in the background. And usually that background is that quick blurb when I'm on the phone as I'm looking at these things, and then I go back through and enter it, right? So again, I've got schools, I've got property type. Some of these I've created my own drop downs for so that I can do like single family, townhome, condo, those kinds of things, so that way she can see, or excuse me, I can see. As well as Monica, if someone gets a call, and they say, hey, well, I want to see this property, Monica kind of has an understanding. Monica's my assistant. She has kind of a bit of an understanding of what we're talking about here. Again, layout. So if you look here, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to follow that lap mama. If you see LLAAA, those are all part of my amenities, right? And then I get to my price, and then I get to my T, and then I get to my motivation, right? Her motivation is the roommate. She hates her roommate, so she can't wait to get out. That to me is important, right? What is the reason? Is it because her lease is up? Is it because she's getting a divorce? Is it because she hates her roommate? Those are all those kinds of things that I want to be able to quickly remember. I have in my database right now, I think there's like, I want to say there's like 1,600 people in there, right? So of those, realistically, because I admit I got a clean house, of those realistically, there's probably at least a third in there that are people that would actually transact. It's a lot of people, right? Of those, there's obviously a smaller percentage that I'm actually in contact with regularly and all that kind of stuff. But eventually, if you're doing your job right as far as generating leads, you'll forget who the hell this person was because you talked to them 1.5 years ago at an open house one time. But you've been sending them stuff over and over again. And then all of a sudden when they call you and you're like, James Harriman, oh, hey, James, I'm looking at everything right here. And they think that you know them that well. Okay, that's important. Maybe you guys have better memories than I do. I don't know. But I need that kind of stuff just because eventually you meet so many people, it's hard to keep up on, right? Timeline, that's an important one for me because you'll see how I set that up into quote-unquote deals so that I can track them, and also I can set up action plans for them. So contactually, do you use action plans in Contactually a lot, Steve?
Yeah, not as well as it should though.
Okay, but it's nice that they have, and a lot of those came from Tom Ferry because they teamed up for a little while. I think that they've parted ways, but a lot of those action plans are good. These have, Follow Up Boss has action plans, and most CRMs have action plans that are already created for you. And we'll get into kind of how I'm using those action plans and whatnot, but I wanted you to see just kind of what's happening as far as how I set this up and why I think that kind of stuff's important. Closing anniversaries, I usually put that up, and then what I do is I create hot sheets so that I can see who's got an anniversary coming up, so I can follow the Matt Morrow program and send them something, right? Again, kind of keeping all these conversations in here. One of the biggest reasons that I'm doing that, again, is because as your team expands, sometimes, again, Monica needs to know that conversation. I'm showing. I'm going to show a home right now, and I need 6 things scheduled. Well, she can look right through there and see what that person sent me this morning to be able to schedule those for me. So that's helpful stuff, right? Who here all has an assistant? No? Steve? Okay. I highly recommend trying to find someone, even if it's just part-time, because there will be lots and lots of little tasks. And I think that if you asked anyone when their business jumped quite a bit, I think I did 6.5, 7 million. And then I brought on Monica that next May, and we did have some luck. We did some things, but that ended up going to 13 million. So that's probably worth paying someone to come on so that you can think. 'Cause what they can do is they can take all those little tasks that you don't like, right? I'm sure there's all sorts of tasks that some of us love those tasks, some of us really don't like those tasks, but all of those tasks take a little bit out of you. Would you agree with that? For me, when I think about it, her being able to look at all this so that she can run through all that, it's less time that I have to spend on the minute details that still have to get done and are still really important for that experience that Matt was talking about, but it takes my time and energy. So, cutting
I have
back.
a question.
Yeah.
So is this your main CRM, or is this just your area to warm up leads?
No, this is my main.
This is your main one.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, and I'll kind of show you, and it just depends on where they're at in that funnel.
Gotcha.
As to what that, but for the most part, this is what it looks like. And there's a few other things that I like on this. Collaborators, so I can add her lender, I can add Monica. Technically, Monica's already added into it, but I can add the lender into that. I've got her pre-approval. When I've got a deal put together, I actually download Dotloop, so that way I'm not jumping back and forth to Dotloop, although I'll show you how that integrates here shortly. But I can have files right here. Any appointments, I normally like to have that first appointment in there, and that's kind of a task of Monica's once we start getting them going, so that I can see when was that first appointment to how long did it actually take that person to transact. And when I say that, because some of these times, so if I scroll down, you'll see where she actually came in and what time, all that kind of stuff. But to me, I want to see how long did it take me from that first point of meeting her, right? Because I'm always trying to figure out, okay, well, how long does it actually take me to transact with someone once they meet me, those kinds of things. So it's helpful, right? A lot of what I use my CRM for is not only to keep track while I'm actually working with them, but at the end of the year to go back and kind of see what is or isn't working with my action plans, how I'm following up, how often I'm following up, what kind of deals, all those kinds of things, and especially if you guys are spending money on marketing, how that came together, right? And that's what helps me with that. Do you guys use your CRMs to kind of look over where your money's going? Do you guys use any of that? Okay. So again, she's not currently on an action plan. She doesn't currently have any tasks right now. She's pretty new. I just showed her again today. She's probably going to, since she's in a hot, she's probably going to go into an action plan here at the end of the day that gives me every 3 days, it gives me a reminder to respond, to reach out to her for something, right? Because they say that if you have someone who's pretty hot and ready to transact, you should be reaching out to them somewhere between every 3 to 6 days, right? So that way you're making sure that you're staying top of mind. They don't go to another agent kind of thing, right? All right, let's cut back out of that. Escape again, or where do I gotta go? I'll let you take the wheel. All right. So again, kind of go into my location here. Okay, so amenities, as you can see, I was filling out all of those things so that I have that information, right? I know that it sounds like, oh yeah, it's really basic stuff, but, and again, maybe this is just me, but I actually have been, you know, at someone's showing, and I thought for sure that this was the thing that they wanted. And then over time that, you know, that morphed into something else. Well, if I didn't put that into my system, you know, it's important to be keeping track of that. If all of a sudden they said, you know, turns out I really don't need that 4th bedroom, you know, I've really thought about it, and everything that we're seeing on our price point, if I could get that 3 bedroom, but maybe get a little bit nicer kitchen, I totally do that. Well, I want to make sure that I'm keeping track of all that kind of stuff. Master bath, bubble tub, all that kind of stuff. Man cave, she shed, you know, the important stuff. Price, pretty basic there, but you know, a lot of us, I think that we hear, this is my budget, and for whatever reason, we find ourselves constantly going to that top, or not even asking why that's the budget. Why is that the budget? Does that budget change if we're talking about taxes? Do they know what that payment is? You know, those are conversations that easily can slip away from us if we don't have this. How many of you are actually using a script? Like, I have a script and I use this script when I get a lead. None of you? Okay. So scripts are pretty important to me, right? And this is what I'm using for my script. I'm using these as kind of bullet points to walk me through and make sure that I'm getting, and it's not, you know, I think that a lot of people think that, you know, scripts are like, you know, there's kind of a negative connotation to it, but truthfully what it is, it's actually to help me get them from point A to point B in the most efficient manner as possible, right? Okay, so again, that comes down to how you're getting it. I think that a lot of people, you know, if they don't have as many leads, you know, the conversion rate on average for online leads, anyone know what the average nationwide conversion rate is for online leads?
Like 4%.
It's 3.5. So when you're looking at 3.5, that means that you have to go through 100 people to get 3 to 4. It's a lot of bad eggs that you got to crack, right? You know, so if you don't have that information in front of you, you're slipping through the cracks, in my opinion. So those scripts and these bullet points kind of keep that thing going for me. When do they need to be in a home? When do they want to be in a home? Sometimes that seems, sometimes we think that we know when that the want and need is the same thing. It's not necessarily the same thing. Come to find out, they'd really like to have a couple extra weeks in that house to be able to fix it up, do those kinds of things. Why? So that's a big one to me. Why? Because when I'm negotiating their contract and I can look back and I can see why it matters, now all of a sudden I see that this thing over here, for instance, I've got a gal, she wants to close literally just a couple weeks earlier, but in her eyes, it's worth $500. To the buyer, right, based on her situation and what's going on, without getting too much into it, it's worth about $500–600 to her. To that buyer, it's only worth $100–150 because of the why, because of what is holding that up. So that to me is good to know as I'm going through there. And do they know the average closing period? How many people have walked out to show someone for the first time and they said, I want to be in something in the next 30 days? Anyone? We just met. It's going to take 30 days to close this bad boy. So having that conversation of how long that takes, or the reverse. Sometimes people will come to you and they'll say, yeah, you know what, I'm really not in a hurry. I don't need to be into something until such and such. Well, you know that the average closing period is 45 to 60 days, right? Oh, no, I didn't know that. I guess I do need to get out there and start seeing things. Yeah, you know, I mean, from the average time that I show someone for the first time, it takes about 6 weeks by the time I actually find them the house that they want. Oh, wow, now I really need to get on that. So it kind of creates that sense of urgency. Next thing you know, you're actually working for them. We're working with them. Motivation. Why do they want to move? And we talked a little bit about that. So I learned pretty early on that if there is no pain, there is no gain, right? So again, I know that that seems like a really surface, easy thing, but how many people have had time wasted by showing looky-loos? Okay, and a lot of it comes down to there's no pain, right? There's no reason. They'd like to move. It'd be nice for them to move, but is it worth the thousands of dollars that it costs for them to move? You know, we got to know that there's a pain. Is the pain worth that price? What if they don't move? What's plan B? Motivation. Agent. How many people are told that they do have an agent when they don't, or they don't have an agent when they do?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I think kind of the default for a lot of people, when they first call you and you're starting to throw them questions and starting to get in, the first default is, I don't need any help, right? You know, I mean, how many walk into a department store and the guy says, hey, can I help you? And they're like, yeah, come show me jeans right now. I'll bet none of you, okay? It doesn't work like that. Our defense mechanism is to say, I'm just browsing kind of thing, right? So a lot of people will tell you, I have an agent, okay? And that may be true, and if it is true, then you should back off, but explore that a little bit. Ask them, are you committed to that agent? Who is your agent? And if they're like, oh, it's Ryan Rivera, then I would say, oh, I love Ryan. I love Ryan Rivera. He's a great agent, and off I go. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not the listing agent on this one. I'm sure Ryan would love to show you this house, and then I usually send a message to that agent and say, hey, by the way, your client's about to get snapped up by another agent. Keep them within your own system kind of thing. I said that in a nice way, of course, you know, like send them their app. Anyhow, really getting into that, whether or not that in this order matters, right? You know, are they committed to that agent? I'm asking them those questions right there. Mortgage, you know, you'd be really shocked in how many people haven't had a conversation about the difference between FHA and conventional. They have no clue. They were told by a lender that this would be the best product for them, and that was it. There's no explanation why. Hopefully that's not always the case. You know, we get good lenders, but in general, a lot of them don't know, and they don't know about other options. I've had plenty of people say, well, we're thinking about anchoring. Okay, but we only have X amount to put down. Okay, would you consider Bondurant? Because if so, then all of a sudden I can get you really low PMI, right? We can go to a USDA loan and get 0 down. Oh, you're kidding me. No one told me about that kind of stuff. You can go to Elkhart and do that. That's not that far. You start to really open those things up, right? Hopefully you guys all have lenders that are on the ball of those kinds of things, and also kind of sharing anything with like MCC credits, all that kind of stuff, right? Everyone familiar with the MCC credit? Mortgage credit certificate from IFA? Seeing no's and yeses. Okay, so what that is that's a tax deduction, you know, for first-time home buyers, up to $2,000 for the life of the loan. That's a big one. And then I'm obviously setting the appointment. So this is all of my front-end stuff. This is what's happening to some degree within that first 5 minutes that I'm talking to them. So I'll kind of show how that happens and how that's automated. Again, entering all that info in. Let's go over to.
Can I go back over? Just take it away.
Okay, so those things come in here, and what I've got here. All right, so up here, this is the admin file here. So we've got lead flow. So if a lead comes in right now from Realtor.com, it comes in, it goes to me as default of the agent, default to the lender, Eric, 28 days of success. That's an action plan. So as soon as they come in, I don't have to do anything. That is created immediately, okay? I'll go to what that action plan is, and we can kind of see here, these are some stats. There's a whole bunch of them that we're like, oh yeah, let's do that. Let's do this thing. Some of them fall flat on their face. Some of them are really good. This 28 days, get the appointment, you know, 32% are engaged currently that are in that. You can see how many steps they have, and I'll kind of walk you through both the front side and the back side of how I'm using them. But this one here, let's do 28 days, get the appointment. So it immediately comes in and it adds a tag to them, right? So did you guys see where I had the tags there? And I was talking about that earlier underneath her name. Then it creates the search, right? So it states to me and Monica, we need to create a search for them, all right? And we're doing that in concierge. Call about the search, get the appointment. So all of these things come up as tasks. Now, it kind of depends on what we're doing, because some of those action plans are a little bit, I guess, better than others. You know, some of them only have that 90. Let's do this 20 days of success. So what you can do is you can set it up so that it pauses all other action plans. So that way, when I put someone into another action plan, it immediately stops that. So that's kind of always my go-to in the beginning. So that way I know that I don't have, let's say that I had someone who was a first-time home buyer, and I have a first-time home buyer drip plan that goes out to them. For those that are a little ways down the road, talks to them about interest rates, all the regular drip stuff that we would like to send out, right? You know, for emails. But if I'm starting to engage with them and I'm showing them lots of houses, I don't want that drip to continue, right? So as I move them into another action plan, I shut them off immediately. Puts them into a different stage, depending on where they're at, what action plan. You know, that first one is that uncontacted. Then it sends out a hello video. Okay, so that hello video, Follow Up Boss is integrated into BombBomb. So when let's just do that. I'll just click on it. So when you come in on this right here, can I click that? You should be able to. It's not that cool anyway, to be honest with you, but it's a quick video that says, "Hi, I'm Brian York. Thanks for reaching out. This is my assistant, Monica. Her or I will be with you shortly." It's so that they can see my face, you know, and since we started doing that, the conversion's actually gone up quite a bit, you know, so it's not that expensive. BombBomb, it's not crazy. I use it for other things too. I sing people happy birthday, true story, along with the Beatles version, of course. So that goes out to them immediately. I haven't done anything yet at this point. It also sends out, if you look at the very top, it also sends out a text, right? So immediately, as soon as you come in, the three things that happen, it creates this plan, it sends you out an email, sends you a text, and it creates a task for us to call you. Those things have already been done without anything. Why? So that way I know that it's speed to lead. Because everybody looks at either a call, a text, or an email, right? I mean, I'm going to get you one way or the other. Some people might say that that's overkill, and for some people it is, right? You know, I mean, I've definitely had people say, "Man, I clicked on this, and as soon as I did, you know, I got this, this, and this." I say, yeah, imagine how it's going to be when I work for you, right? You know, we're kicking ass right out the gate. That's what I want people to see. We have a system to take care of people. So that's kind of what happens on that first action plan. And then I'll kind of go through, let's see here, let's go to our email templates first. So there's tons that are already pre-created, but you can create your own. You know, we steal content from like Keeping Current Matters. You guys all on Keeping Current Matters at all? Okay. So we use a lot of content from that to be able to send over to people. You've got your text templates, you've got your team, you got import. Custom fields, those are the things that I created again. You can see how they have a different drop down in text to be able to do the Lat Mama. Stages, I fight with myself often as to what stages are most important and where people should be. But again, it's kind of all about pipeline, right? You know, to me, I need to see where someone is in that pipeline. And the stage not only as far as their level of interest, but also where they're at in the transaction. There's plenty of people that I've met that I think that they know me, like me, and would work with me, but they're 6 months down the line. So the CRM helps keep those people involved, right, by using this action plan. Tags. So again, we've got tons and tons of tags. Those tags probably can be cleaned up a little bit. But again, they're kind of going back to searches. So I'm searching for people by using those tags. So tags, stages, how can I reach out? Integrations. So Follow Up Boss has all these different integrations. So as you can see, I've got it integrated with BombBomb. I've got it with Pixel so that I can actually see when people are on my website. That's a new one that they just came out with. So if people are searching on my website now, I can see that and exactly what they're doing. Facebook, so you click on one of my ads on Facebook, you fill out anything, it's going to come directly to me through my Follow Boss. Dot Loop is, it's got an integration, but I think that it's backwards. So has anyone here used Zapier? Okay, so instead what I do is I create zaps to do it the reverse order. So a lot of these things that you want to automate, you can use Zapier, whatever CRM you have, they've got tons of them that are integrated, so you can make it do things. When I create a loop in Dot Loop, it immediately creates a deal and goes into a stage for me. So that way it's already created. And I'll show you kind of a little bit about how that goes. But again, there's lots of things that you can integrate into this. I'm going to now go to the back end of it. So let's do this. So here's kind of the standard when you come in. You can see how many leads you've got coming in, hours, you know, what's your speed to lead. Now, that can really get away from you. To me, it kind of depends on, and you can see what your speed to lead is on certain forms of leads. We've got a new lead system that really is like an email thing to us. We don't have it figured out yet. We were down to about 20 minutes, which I think was pretty good in general, because that's actually checking off boxes and getting things in. You know, the truth is that, as you can see, that speed to lead goes out immediately. It's more based on responses and things like that. So you can see your upcoming appointments. You can see how many your average contact attempts are. That's way down. That sucks. You can see your tasks, all your tasks that we're here to do. Your calendar, that integrates with Gmail. And then here's kind of what I'm doing with deals, right? So what I did was I created a lot of these in Zapier again, so that as this moves from here to here, something happens. I couldn't get Follow Up Boss to actually do that, but in Zapier I can do that. So when this changes to here, it'll actually change the action plan and what they're doing, right? Okay, so that's helpful stuff. This here for me, again, if you've got a lot of clients and you've got a lot of deals going, I mean, between buyers and sellers, I think we're in the middle of, I don't know, 10 or so deals. You know, for me, I mean, it can be a lot to juggle. So I make sure that I can look at all this and it doesn't keep me up at night, because if I'm ever questioning where a deal was and if something got done, I look right here. I look to see where that's at, and then I look at my tasks. I go to my filters here. These are all closing tasks, so I can make sure that certain things got done within that, right? So as soon as someone goes into one of these deals, the action plan is created for everything that has to get done in a deal. I mean, everything that I do for a deal is in a checklist, right? So that way I can check those things off as I go.
So Brian, you built all of this. I mean, this looks like this took you, you know, forever to get this all set up. Even like your action plans, your tasks list. They've got pre-stuff, but you've probably made it all super deep, and then with all your action plans.
Correct.
Okay.
So it went from, a lot of this stuff is, I can create deals. Let's just go to that real quick. So let's say that I go to deal and I want to create a new one. I can add a pipeline. Just say test. And then just simply add a stage. Create that. So that's pretty easy. Now the action plans, they have action plans from agents all over the country that are already in there, ready to go. So the truth is that you can get right in and you can immediately have action plans with text and email templates that are ready to go. I've just, you know, over time said, that thing doesn't make sense. What if we did this? You know, so it's been a living, breathing, you know, I mean, I've used contactually, I've used a handful of them. Wise Agent, contactually, I like Follow Up Boss thus far, but I mean, in general, this has been a 3.5 year culmination of things that come on. When I was first in KickStart and they started talking about CRMs and all that kind of stuff, I went and I did everything that I could to get my database, which, by the way, the girls will help put all of your people into a CRM database for you. And it did take a long time, but I found that really this has really helped me in everything. It's kind of a page out of Shane's playbook there, if he's back there listening. It's all about kind of having that system, because otherwise I feel like I'm juggling, and I don't know about you guys, but if I don't know where I'm at in a deal, it gives me anxiety. Did that thing get done? Right? What's with the love letter, man?
I
All
haven't
right.
taken a single note.
All right. So then we've got reporting. So this for me is really big, because I want to see what things are getting open, what aren't, what matters. We don't do appointments as much as I'd like. Monica likes to do it through my Google Calendar. I prefer to do it in here so that way we can keep things set. But nevertheless, this is something that's helpful to see what the activity is, how many things are coming in, where they're coming from. So for instance, your lead sources, I can see, what's feeding what, how many leads am I getting, my properties. There's one in New York, that's awesome. I can see which properties are getting me the most. So when you're buying leads from a realtor.com or a Zillow or whatever, you're buying them by area, right? You're buying them by zip code. Well, I want to know that I'm getting good ROI, and I want to be able to narrow that down and see which ones can I convert the most. So I realized that I don't convert very well in Norwalk. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I don't know everything about Norwalk. I'd like to, but for whatever reason, I'm getting leads there, but my conversion is down. But in Ankeny, I kill it. In Urbandale, I kill it. In Johnston, I kill it. I suck at Norwalk, right? So I want to stop buying leads in Norwalk. For whatever reason, it doesn't work, and I don't want to spend the time, I think. Instead, what I want to do is spend the time in Ankeny, Johnston, Urbandale, and nail down what I know. So that's just me, right? But I can look at this and I can say, okay, that's working or isn't working. My batch emails, I cut out of batch emails. You can batch email here. I don't do that. To do batch emails, I do MailChimp currently. But, different marketing, different things, that's really helpful, again, to go through the reporting for me. So let's cut back out of this here. Let's go back to that presentation.
Brian, I don't see the category saying videos.
The category saying videos.
Okay, your ROI on saying videos.
Oh, gotcha. I don't know if there is any ROI in that at the moment. We'll see what happens, right? So again, I understand that a lot of people have. You guys all obviously have sales training in your here, so this presentation is a little bit geared toward those that don't have CRMs and how to manage that with your CRM through the sales pipeline. So forgive me if I bore you, but again, kind of watching over all that and seeing where they're at, that's helpful for me. I'm always looking for that raw. So this is something that I'm putting in, I plan to put in front of any other agents that care to look for it or come on my team, that kind of thing. So again, kind of looking at where they're at. What is the hot stage? What does the 3-6 months mean? What is the cool? What is the nurture? And then what stage do they need to go in to be able to create that action plan for that? Tags, I talked a little bit about those tags. So the way that I'm using them is I kind of go all over the place. So anything that I can put as kind of a short blurb about what they're looking for, South Grand, 250,000, 4+ bedroom, those kinds of things. So that way, when I see that house come up on the MLS and I say, you know what, that's a nice house. That's a good deal. That house will sell fast. How many times do you look on the MLS every morning and you see at least one of those, right? So immediately, I simply type that in for my tags, and 10 people come up and I send them that house. I say, here, what do you think of this one? It helps. I mean, it's got good ROI on that. Again, going to that action plan, They are generic created ones. There are those. The merge fields, you can auto insert those names and whatnot. You do have those integrations. Talk a little bit about that. Skip down here. So again, kind of this contract to close, and I will pull up what we do. Go ahead. Okay, so that action plan here, I can see. Forgive my eyes, forgive me. Offer accepted email already sent. That one was 79 steps there. That's the one that I was talking about. So Matt talked a lot about, I shouldn't say a lot, but he talked a little bit about the same conversations that we have over and over again. So as soon as I have a deal and that deal's created, like I said, that's created in .loop. So this is kind of the workflow. I create in .loop, it sets up a deal. I move that deal to contract accepted. Once that happens, these all go out. So immediately they're going to get a congratulations email that gives them the timeline. So it's got a timeline. I don't know if you guys have been through Q1, but Oo's got a great nice little timeline all the way from contract to close, exactly all the things that are going to happen and in what order. That goes out to them. Then I send out a contract, or excuse me, an inspector list. So I say, hey, we've got our 10 business days for inspection period. I talk about radon again, so that I know that absolutely they've looked at that. That's all there. They know that it takes 48 hours, so that they don't try to schedule this inspection the very last day and then realize that they can't get a radon inspection. I know that they saw that stuff. That immediately goes out, and then it starts creating these tasks. So what we have here, again, I make her go through and add all of the closing costs, anything that was pertinent to the deal, so that when I pull up my deal, let's go to someone who's under contract. Let's do. I can see earnest money. I can see who the lender is. I can see who the listing agent is. All that kind of stuff. Purchase agreement. All that kind of stuff is there.
What's
Okay.
the app like on your phone?
It's okay.
Is it okay?
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not nothing. Whether it be the contractually or whatever it was, none of them are amazing.
Mhm.
And don't take notes on what I've done with my deal. I saw Fix smile. He's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna do Brian's deal." But all of that's really helpful, so that really quickly I can look right.
I'm good, but I'm not that.
I'm just messing with you. I'll just mess with you. So that way I can really, really quickly look right at it and say, what was the deal? Because again, I mean, sometimes when you're going through inspections, I'm sure we've all been there where you've got 3 closings this week, and you realize that such and such was supposed to be done along the way. Well, for me, again, if you're juggling and you're out there every day and you're showing as well as trying to list, as well as trying to actually sell them and get them through the contract, you're doing that with 10, 15 people at a time. It gets overwhelming. It's good to be able to look right at something and know right where you're at, know all of the parts of the deal. So that's helpful for me. And then I can also look through, as a result, everything that gets closed this here, once it comes in here, that gets all added up. Right, so I can see how many deals I've done. I can do that, within certain amounts of time. Again, look through the deal reporting. I can see all of my stuff there, exactly what happened, which at the end of the year is helpful. Or if I'm, looking at my goals and I'm like, man, I really need to kick myself in the ass. We're only at, X amount of deals, kind of thing. But again, kind of moving that through, that to me really helps. Now I will go kind of back over here. I've got a new construction one, so that way I can make sure that I'm keeping track of what stage we're in as well. Just so that I'm always constantly you start getting through houses that are 6 months of a process, you want to know kind of where, real quickly, what was that stage, where we're at, go, you can add pictures up to it. So on some of these deals, I'll have pictures as I periodically go through it. Same thing with, any sort of inspections and stuff like that. I like to have all of that in here as well, so I can quickly talk about those kinds of things. cruising over here and kind of see where these people are in deals. So that way it's all about that pipeline. So I'm watching it as a graphical representation, if you will, or at least a timeline representation, so that I can see where they're at and who I'm working with. If those are any of your clients, they're not anymore, don't call them.
So like a 90-day one, like he's gonna be ready to start looking in 90 days.
No, that person's about 90 days out from buying. So that's why I have this, is because they're going to, here's what happened is we started putting people in stages for that 90 days out, and then they just stayed in that 90 days. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. So now when this happens on 90 days, right? Instead, it's creating an action plan, right? And that action plan will eventually move them over to here. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because I need to see that, and that creates an action plan. Where is that at, right? So where are they at in the transaction? Now we've gone back and forth as to whether or not that should automatically do it, or it just creates a task for us to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We've decided recently that that's probably the best way. So that way we're actually physically doing it, and it doesn't just start a whole nother plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of thought that went into trial and error as to does this work, does this not work kind of thing. And there's definitely some failures that happen when you have things automatic, right? So,
Brian?
Yes.
I don't know how familiar you are with Contactually, but do you know if the pipeline function of it works kind of like this?
it does.
And could you create those automated lists and systems?
You
and
can through
tasks
Zapier in the very least.
in Zapier? You can?
Yes, with
I use
Contactually.
Zapier with Contactually for other things, but I guess I don't know quite how to do that.
Yep. So you'll go to it again you see how the drop down works when you're looking at Contactually. It'll say change stage, connect action plan.
Because I've been doing action plans with the buckets,
Mm-hmm.
but the pipelines is keeping track of your deals after the contract, like contract close, like you said. And
Correct.
I haven't been using that part of Contactually.
Yep.
I've been using it on the front end, but I'm wondering if this seems pretty slick. What I've been doing is in Dotloop, you can do tasks.
Yep. I have that too. Yep.
I
Exactly.
just do a task template, but I don't set due dates on it, so I have to go in there and check it each day.
We do that as kind of kind of that fail safe. So when you're looking in the deal too, so yeah, we on Dotloop, we have pretty much the same thing that comes up here, but it's just all at once. So it doesn't give you dates. So
Because you can do dates with the Dotloop, but for some reason, if I remember, it doesn't work quite the way you would want it to.
because it doesn't do days out.
That's what
It does
yeah.
it does dates. Whereas in Follow Up Boss, so what I do, I know that on average, if you get an offer from me, it's going to say 10 business day inspection period. It's pretty common. So what I do when I've got a deal is one of the tasks that comes up at 8 days is send over inspection, right? And immediately, so all of those tasks that are going through there, that way I know that oh shit, did I send that over this morning? I make sure that was done.
Which if people are comfortable with Dotloop and prefer that, I suppose they could do what we're doing, upload the template, and then you could assign a date, not days out,
Right.
but you could assign a date to each of those tasks for that particular deal.
Right.
That could be something your admin does at the beginning.
Yeah, and again, a lot of it was just to be able to quickly get it going.
Yeah.
And
I haven't done that.
Yep.
Assigning the dates because it's so tedious to do it in each deal.
and that's exactly it, because you've got 79,
Yeah.
and I mean those are really narrowed down steps. There's a few things to add. I do want to kind of get back before I run out of time on
Closed up.
I want to talk about some that are outside of. So again, we talked about kind of year in review. So here, for me, obviously I've talked a lot about Follow Up Boss. And I've kind of given, what that can do. Contactually, I like Contactually because Contactually will do a little bit about what I'm talking about as far as reminding me. It does that based on what stage you put them in. They have an algorithm of how much they think you should contact someone based on what stage they're in. And they'll give you a little reminder, which is cool. Do you use that a lot, Steve? Okay. So, I mean, I like that. There was just a couple things that I didn't like about Contactually. One of the biggest ones is because they were bought out by a company that's trying to take our business, but that's completely different. So But they do have a slick system. It's not bad. It's fairly inexpensive. And I think that the app, getting back to, I think the app on your phone is better in contextually, if I recall, than it is on Follow Up Boss, with the exception, I believe it was of text that I didn't like at the time. So it's sleek. It really does get you going if you don't know where to put people, because you play the bucket game, like you were talking. That makes it fun putting people in a category. So I do recommend that one. You know, it's a fun one. If you don't want to spend a ton of money, you can do Sorted. Sorted is a Gmail plugin. It's very inexpensive. You can set up stages and deals and task lists and all that kind of stuff as well. So it's very nice, very inexpensive. Like I said, links right into your Gmail.
Does that say $6?
Yeah.
Oh, that is really cheap.
Folio has gone up for the team users, I believe. So this is what I'm using for my clients to kind of see the timeline. So I talked a little bit earlier about how I send them my PDF timeline. That's nice and pretty. But this is a digital timeline. So you go to Folio and you simply put in when you had the offer. It'll actually, well, let's do this. Will it let me log right into my Gmail, or do I gotta?
Yeah, you should.
No, I mean you. Yeah, I mean your Gmail here. Sorry, I won't do that. So in my Gmail, it's plugged in Folio. So whenever I get, and this is why I try to keep all of my, it just makes sense, but this helps. To put any time that I've got anything about a transaction, I put the address in it, because what it'll do is it'll actually create folders for you where all of your conversations for that particular address go into a folder. And then what you can do is you can create this timeline. It'll pop up for you. It automatically brings it in. You simply put in the contract dates. And then within that, you can start putting all of the dates in, so that if your buyer says to you, well, hey, you know, when did we get, because we all know that we've got timelines coming back for inspection periods, right? And oftentimes they want to know, well, how much time do we have? Well, we received that at this amount of time. So whenever I get that email and it says, 5:47 p.m., I enter that into Folio, because now I've got 2 days from that period to be able to get that back, right? So having all of that kind of stuff is helpful, and also has resources. So lenders, inspectors, as well as utility companies. So I go in and I just enter in utility companies once for each area, right? Grimes, West Des Moines, whatever. And they can see that. I simply put that back in whenever that's their Folio, right? So it's their timeline. I can say, when we come to closing, one of the automatic emails that goes out says, refer back to your Folio for all instructions to set up utilities. It's all there. They can also click on resources and see immediately how to get a hold of their inspector, their lender, anyone else that was associated with the transaction. It can do a lot more. I just choose not to use it for it, but you could use this as a full-on CRM. Any questions on that one?
You use that one along with it?
I use that along with it so that they have a timeline, so that they can see right there at all times when things are coming up. I had an agent that wanted to go back through a property and just verify that this drywall was done. Not a big deal. Said, okay, yeah, that's fine. You can do it. She's going to be out of town right before closing for the final walkthrough. But she scheduled it like 2 weeks in advance. So what I did in Folio was I put it on there, and then I scheduled it for 2 days before it happened to send an email, and then scheduled for the day before. Hey, here it is. This is going to happen. So you got multiple things going out to make sure that I didn't have to remember to tell you that. It was already there. So as soon as I get some of this information, I'm immediately putting it in there, or having Monica put it in there. That way it's these fail safes, So a lot of people respond really well to the Folio. A lot of buyers, they say, oh man, that was really cool that you had that. I could see exactly what happened, when it happened, all that kind of stuff. So then, others, obviously, I'm talking to people that already have CRMs, so it doesn't really matter, but these are some other CRMs that a lot of people are using. Do you guys have any questions about the way that I use action plans, the CRM, any of my deals, any of that stuff?
The pre-canned emails, they sound great. It's part of why I got Contactually, because they had a lot of them. And when you look at them, they're nicely written. But I find that they are not converting. Those canned emails that they get on an automatic plan, they seem like a waste. And I actually find myself not wanting to approve sending it because I have like approvals, like whether it goes out or not.
Yep.
Because I feel like I'm gonna annoy them. I don't know how to say it.
So it kind of depends on what, right? So there's, again, if you're listening to Tom Ferry and
They're
Buffini
staying
and
in
those,
touch 3 times a week and all this stuff, and I'm like, that is the fastest way for them to unsubscribe.
it just depends on where they're at in the transaction. So you're right. That is true. If I get too much spam, I'm out, right? But if I get hit, once every 28 days is kind of what they're saying, right? When you're first having that.
Yeah, once every 28 days would be bad, but last I've read is saying we're supposed to be sending this stuff.
If they're hot.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that 28 days is if they're 6 to 12 months out to transact.
I'm thinking like the cold leads. That's what really is getting a lot of these programs are the Zillow leads, the Lead Street leads, the people I met in open house once. Or may not have met at all. Those are the ones that are going into this program, your new leads. And then it seems like it has to be generic info because I don't know them.
Right, and you don't have the time to recreate
so
it.
often that I think they're unsubscribing and annoyed.
Yep. So that is why you saw so many action plans and so many different templates. And it's good because you can see where they unsubscribe and all that kind of stuff. It is trial and error, but again, it kind of came down to hearing that it depends on where they're at the transaction. That's where things started making sense in transitioning for me. If they were 6 to 12 months out, it's that every 28 days until they get about 90 days out, and then that changes. And that's why I said that timeline representing kind of where they're at. Nurture was anything over that 6 months, right? That's where those things kind of change for me in my mindset of what needs to be happening. And again, that's why some of those things were tasks. They created tasks for me to do rather than send that email. Because, I caught myself, I sent rates were actually going down at this particular point, but I had a thing because I had created this when rates were going up. And it completely sent to this first time home buyer, giving them, wrong info, So those things do have to be watched. They do, it is a living, breathing thing, and you have to be able to look at it and see what's working and what's not, what's responding. But I will say this, most people, the reason that they're losing deals is not because they're reaching out too much. It's because they think they reached out as much as they should have. And if they would have looked back and saw, they would have realized they reached out half as much as what they really should have and what they really thought that they did. And a lot of times it's because you're looking at that content and you're like, I don't know what to send them. But if you create something, commit to it, and it goes out, sometimes that information is better than nothing, right? At least sending something and getting something done is better than having no connection at all.
Kind of why these people are all getting the programs I set up, but it's been 2 years I've been watching, and they're not converting from these emails.
No, and it can't just be right,
that I have.
But it can't just be those emails. So every now and then you got to call them and hit them with that house. Hey, you know what? I just got done showing this house, and my clients, they weren't really into it. And I know that you were a little ways down. I know that you're still about 6 months out, but I really wanted to tell you about this one, if for nothing else, but just to keep your eye on the market. I'm like, oh, I appreciate you telling me about that one. We'll have to, you know what? Let's go see that one. We're actually 6 months out. Next thing you know, they bought in another month. I've had that kind of thing happen many times.
Get them in person
Yep.
for me.
Yep. Any other questions? No? Hope I didn't bore you since you guys already had CRMs. Wrong class for me.
I have one, so you help me. So a couple of cool quick things though before you go. Make sure that you go into resources for agents. There's a marketing folder in there that will give you tons of content for newsletters, like Matt was talking about for newsletter. There's content in there. The creative concepts will help you with your database. They work on that for $25 an hour to help you compile your 37,000 locations that you have. your information into one good database. But I wanted to make sure that you had a chance. Has everybody heard about First, or has anybody not heard about First? Okay, I'm gonna run a quick video. First will be available on the 15th.
It's available now.
Well, for those who went
The
to,
biggest asset we have across all of Remax
pretended to go
is
to.
the relationship network our agents have.
I know,
And
you're kind
we
of,
know now from the data that we're missing 70% of the deals in that network. And now we have a product that can help us map that and win more of those listings consistently. First is a really simple mobile app. In just a few clicks, you can pull all your contacts from your email, your old emails, and your phone contacts, and your CRM in one place. And then we help you clean that up and build it out. And so we can usually take an agent's database from 70 to 100 properties to over 1,000 property addresses that now they know where people live. We can focus on people who are going to be moving. You can't follow up with 3,000 people. And so what we're able to do is focus them in on the people who are most likely to move. Not all of them will sell, but they sell at 2 to 3 times the rate of everyone else. The last thing that we do is we help you master your follow-up. And what we mean by that is getting into conversation with people at the right time. Our app is all focused on helping you follow up and get into conversation with those people first to win that listing. Our seller star system is a really, really simple way to think about where you should focus your time. If they have a star at all, they're more likely to average to move. And if you really just focus on those 3 stars, you're stacking the deck in your favor to win more listings. We're a product organization, and we hold ourselves to a really high standard of wanting this to be something that fits into your daily workflow. It's fun to use, where you can feel and see your progress. And these are not leads. These are people we already have a relationship with. We don't need more leads if we can focus our time on the right people in the best network in real estate.
If you want to better protect your sphere of influence and stay top of mind, this application is a must-have tool you will not want to miss. It's a complementary tool to help you be better at what you do, which is building and deepening relationships. Level up.
okay, so I know Chad just left. He downloaded it at convention, and he had 73 stars come up, which meant people that were likely to be looking to buy or sell homes. 2 of them he was already working with. So we know that the data is good. And you were going to share a little bit, Shane, with.
Yeah, so I downloaded it and went and paid a year in advance just so I could test it. And I had, let me pull it up, I just show the chat. I had over 20,000 contacts ported in.
Just a few.
Of that 20,000 contacts, just around 3,600 popped up with all 3 stars. And the cool part is you could actually sync with MLS. So what's interesting is, of that, just in the last 9 days, I had 9 people in my contacts list, not those, but list. And about over 3 million volume. So it clearly works. One of them we hadn't talked to in 2012. They've been on a drip since, but if we would have had this app and they would have told us to reach out, then it might have been a different situation. So it's very accurate and very cool. And the fact that it goes off your contacts you already have.
So do you have to have all your addresses in there too? Or?
Nope.
No.
It basically, you give it permission to access your social media, your contacts, your Google, and it ports them all into one location. And so when you go to contact them, you give whatever you're synced through, is you push the button, you contact them through that. It'll ask you on some of them, if this is where they live, it plots their address and what it looks like, and you just verify it, yes or no on that. So.
Yeah. And it's crazy cool. But if you have all of those contacts and you're trying to figure out who are the people that you really need to concentrate on, that's a great way to do it. So, I mean, it's data mining, it's pulling in all the information for people who are the most likely to be buying and selling. So I think if you do the year in advance, I think it ends up like $35 a month.
39 a month.
39 a month for a year in advance. And if you do the 3-month trial, it was $55 a month.
Yeah, something like that.
So it'll be available to everybody. I think
So
the
that's
15th
all
or
it is,
16th.
it's not like
It's not a CRM at all, but it will help you maybe rate your A's to see who you really want to concentrate on right away. A different type of A. Okay, so Thursday, we've got a workshop already. So at the workshop is where we will create marketing plans with timeline and cost. We'll go over creating those introduction letters like Matt was talking about, and then whatever else you need to work on. So 1 to 3 on Thursday, and then otherwise we've got our next session is next Tuesday.
Who's coaching Thursday?
Thursday, you'll get the marketing team and me.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, not me. Yeah.
Not you.
I'm out.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Nice job, Brian.
So